I'm Ryan Yamamoto, and this is The Minute. The Dow dropping more than 1,500 points in early morning trading, reacting to President Trump's tariff announcement. The minimum baseline tariff at 10% is for all U.S. trading partners. The plan also hits dozens of countries with reciprocal tariffs. The VTA light rail and bus service is now fully restored. The Green Line was the last to get up and running this morning following inspections and repairs. This comes a week after a judge ended the workers' strike that lasted nearly 3 weeks. In Oakland, police say car thefts have dropped by 50% this year. According to OPD data, they recorded 1,560 vehicle thefts so far in 2025. That compares to more than 3,000 for the same period in both 2023 and 2024. The Bay Area's only primetime newscast at 8 and 9 p.m. on Pix Plus 44 Cable 12.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Well, for years, people have been leaving California, but now the Bay Area is bouncing back.
Well, I would say I'm moving to San Francisco, and they would go, wow, that's so great, big city, moving out to the West Coast.
Why people like Hunter are moving from their home states to call the Bay Area home. Plus, as the world reacts to President Trump's slew of new tariffs, we check in on a local business owner who is trying to figure out how they will make it work.
I think right now we are absorbing the cost, but I think if it's going to continue, we don't make money, and we actually have to pass it on to the customer.
And a fast-rising sport could be challenging golf as the go-to outlet for striking business deals outside the boardroom. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ryan Yamamoto. Let's begin with our first alert weather as the warm-up continues across the Bay Area. Here's meteorologist Jessica Birch.
Another dry day for us here in the Bay Area with daytime highs slowly warming into the upper 60s as we head into this afternoon in areas like Santa Rosa, Antioch, all the way over into Fremont and down into the Santa Clara Valley too. It's a beautiful day to get out there and get some fresh air. Lighter winds for us too as we head into this afternoon. I was at the Golden Gate Park yesterday. You saw the sand just coming up from Ocean Beach over into the Dutch windmills. It was so breezy along our shoreline. We ended up getting 40-mile-per-hour wind gust in areas like Bodega Bay and SF. Now heading into this afternoon, it's significantly lighter. I mean, okay, yeah, about a 20-mile-per-hour wind gust into this afternoon, but that's at max. Another thing to mention too, those temperatures you just saw a second ago, they're going to be a little bit below average for us as we head into this afternoon. SF today topping off about 3 degrees below average, but that's been the case widespread throughout the West Coast. That'll change significantly as we head into the coming days. The next 6 to 10 days, our temperature outlook is showing above normal conditions. So what does that mean for us? Well, you head over into our inland areas. Let's start off with places like the East Bay and the Santa Clara Valley. Today we're in the 60s, tomorrow 70s. We're going to warm up into the 70s this weekend, get a quick cold front as we head into our Monday forecast, and look at Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. High pressure is going to build in fast. It's going to warm us up. It's going to dry us up. We're going to see sunny skies for Tuesday and Wednesday, 80s right around the corner for us, which is such a contrast compared to what we're dealing with today. More 60s in store for us today, of course, along the bay, too. We're going to hold on tight to that cooler weather pattern for one more day. We'll hit the 70s in areas like San Francisco and Oakland by Saturday, kind of teeter back and forth with upper 60s heading into early next week. We get that quick splash of scattered showers for Monday, and then we're all drying up together with mid-70s in areas like the Bay heading into next Wednesday.
Well, for the last several years, the Bay Area exodus has been one of the big stories of our region.
For more than a decade, the so-called Great California Exodus has been seeing residents leave our state.
But just drive around and you will see it. Tremendous changes underway in the city.
No reason to stay here when I could go back to family and work remote there.
Well, fast forward to today, new census data reveals that the exodus may be over. The numbers show that every Bay Area county except for Napa saw population growth last year. More people are moving to the region, among them a woman from Missouri who has just made San Francisco her new home. Max Darrow caught up with her to see what's behind the shift.
New to the Bay Area and San Francisco.
Some of the things that we're doing to make the house a little bit homier.
Hunter Benkoski is settling into the place she's happy to now call home.
And I put up the curtains and was just like, oh, like it's so silly that these like textured curtains bring me so much joy.
She and her boyfriend moved to the Bay Area from Missouri in August so he could take a job in the city. He works downtown, she works remotely.
It has been such a treat to be in a walkable city.
And when she told people they were moving here,
it was really interesting seeing the responses of the people around me. Like some people, I would say, I'm moving to San Francisco, and they would go, wow, that's so great, big city, moving out to the West Coast. but I had a surprising number of people that looked at me and were like, oh.
And it turns out a lot of people were having similar conversations throughout the country and beyond right around the same time Hunter was having hers. According to the latest U.S. Census data, every Bay Area county minus Napa County saw population growth from 2023 to 2024. The first time since 2020 where the numbers do not paint a picture of a Bay Area exodus. Jeff Belisario, the executive director of the Bay Area Council Economic Institute, says he's cautiously optimistic about the data.
I think we're trying to better understand if this is a one-year data point in terms of growth. The big piece here from the data that we have is that the foreign immigration numbers are up. The question for me is, who are the types of people coming to our region from abroad? Is it more of the high-tech workers or is it more people in the service economy?
If this is indeed the beginning of a trend.
It's good that we see those population numbers up, but we'd like to see the job numbers be going up at the same rate.
Belisario also says if the region is moving back into growth mode, the creation of more housing will be even more crucial than it currently is.
But I do think there are still massive headwinds around housing affordability, right? There's quality of life issues. There's just the sense that there are very few places to live in our region that are close to job centers.
I walk around every day, and every day the hills still get me.
Aside from the hills.
Oh, it's so nice today.
Hunter admits the cost of living is something she's still getting used to.
I mean, it is expensive. My rent is literally like more than 3 times as much as we paid for my little studio back in St. Louis.
But the life she's carving out here.
Oh, there's the acorn woodpecker. It's right there.
Accented by the little things that make her happy.
He's right up there, you see?
Solidifies her decision to move to the Bay Area.
I can't see myself leaving the Bay Area, honestly.
Planting roots in a region that appears to be ready to grow again.
As for the largest population jump, it was in Santa Clara County with an increase of about 50,000 people. Now to Wall Street, and the Dow is plunging as stocks react to President Trump's tariff announcement. The Dow dropped more than 1,500 points in early morning trading. Tech stocks also taking a hit. This comes a day after President Trump announced a minimum baseline tariff at 10% on all U.S. trading partners. The plan also hits dozens of countries with reciprocal tariffs. The White House says they are roughly half of what those countries are charging the U.S. And this is look at some of the biggest numbers on the list. Vietnam will face a reciprocal tariff of 46%, China 34%. Taiwan 32%, South Africa 31%, India at 27%. The Commerce Secretary says the move is meant to spur manufacturing here in the U.S.
When tariffs come into place, foreign goods may become a little more expensive, but domestic goods do not. So if you're looking at Poland Springs water versus, something, let's say, Fiji water, the Poland Springs is not going to be more expensive. So for the first time in your lives, you're going to actually think about the Americans who make the products, the Americans who produce these products and work in these factories. It's time for us to take care of them instead of taking care of the world.
Economists say bringing manufacturing here would be a good thing, but that's going to take several years. In the meantime, they say expect higher prices and more inflation and consumer anxiety.
The thing that you have to remember about tariffs is that nothing in the economy happens in a vacuum. So we're talking about the impact of tariffs on prices and all of these different things, but you're also going to potentially have other policies like tax breaks for corporations or less regulation. And it's really going to be about how all of these different economic dynamics play into each other of how this really impacts the economy in the long run.
Small businesses here in the Bay Area will have to decide on whether to eat the costs or raise prices for their customers. That is a balance the owner of Lotus Cuisine restaurant in San Rafael is trying to find out and trying to figure out. Andrea Nakano has his story.
Lotus Cuisine in San Rafael opened almost 30 years ago. Surinder Saroa, known as Paul by many of his customers, was born in India and grew up in the grocery and spice business. He was craving a taste of home, something he couldn't find in Marin County.
From there, I going to have a food at an Indian restaurant, and I did not have a good experience. And I told my wife, Linda, I'm going to open a restaurant.
Since then, the Lotus brand of restaurants and market have been a huge success, but running a restaurant has come with its challenges. He says business in March was down 20% compared to last year. Now he's worried about how the tariffs will impact his bottom line.
We just bought the coconut oil, so it's already 20% is up.
Saroa says a lot of the ingredients used in his dishes come from India, which was hit with a 25% tariff, and Thailand, which is expecting a 36% tariff.
He's cooking the chicken coconut curry. All of these spices for our ingredients, for our cooking, has to come from that part of the world. And that's makes the difference of cuisine. Otherwise, it's not the same cuisine.
Saroa has been preparing for the possibility of these tariffs for a while.
Just getting more inventory because we don't know what the inventory is going to be. It's going to run out or not, so we just being prepared.
He says he's not planning to make any price changes on the menu yet, saying it's the last thing he wants to do.
I think right now we are absorbing the cost, but I think if it's going to continue, we don't make money, then we actually have to pass it on to the customer. I mean, in the end, the customer has to pay.
Well, the administration is also calling for a 20% tariff on all wines imported from the European Union. Now, wine importers, including here in the Bay Area, are bracing for the impact. President Trump says the tariffs will push Americans to buy local, but one Oakland-based shop owner says that does not matter when there's not enough wine production in the U.S. to meet the demand.
There's no way I can't eat that. And the wineries can't eat that either. So we will have to add on to our wines what we sell it to our customers for.
Chris Staffenegger imports all of her products from small vineyards in France. Meanwhile, the EU chief called the tariffs a major blow to the world economy and said the union is prepared to respond with countermeasures if negotiations with the U.S. fail. And you can check the prices of goods impacted by the tariffs on the CBS News website. You can see the potential changes for groceries, cars, and much more. Just head to cbsnews.com/tariffs. Still ahead on CBS News Bay Area, major shift to a policy that some say has enabled drug users on the streets of San Francisco.
This goes against all science-based evidence.
We will hear from people on both sides of a controversial change. Plus, it looks a bit like tennis or pickleball, but it is something else entirely. Now the fast-growing sport of paddle is becoming a new pastime for tech startups to make deals.
So maybe asking a question to the entrepreneur between points, he or she is not going to have a chance to prepare an answer.
And what do you get when you take the run out of a run club? Meet the Bay Area group starting their own trend focused on, well, sitting down.
Throughout the next couple days, we're continuing to warm up here in the Bay Area. We're in the mid-60s today in our inland spots, mid-70s by tomorrow for our Friday forecast with plenty of sunshine. And right around the corner, we'll hold on tight to those mid-70s heading into this weekend with a bit of a dip as we head into our Monday forecast as the cold front approaches. But look at next Wednesday. Right around the corner, we're hitting the 80s in our inland areas, and we're going to experience mid-70s for our friends just along the bay in areas like San Francisco all the way over into Oakland.
Well, San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie shaking up one of the city's most controversial policies that some have blamed for encouraging drug use on city streets. We're talking about handing out clean supplies like needles and foil so that drug users will not seek out unsafe materials. It's all part of a broader effort to scale back on a strategy known as harm reduction. Some experts say harm reduction was a driving force behind a nearly 22% drop in overdose deaths in San Francisco last year. 633 people, though, died of accidental overdoses. That's a lot of people, but it was actually the fewest in the city since 2019. But Mayor Lurie and others say the harm reduction strategy only enables addicts. So now he's attaching some strings to those programs. Our John Ramos explains.
For decades, San Francisco has been plagued by the problem of drug addiction, and they've taken a fairly empathetic attitude toward drug users. But now the mayor says the city's had enough. It's time to make a change. Of all the crises faced by the city of San Francisco, the most deadly has been fentanyl. On average, 2 people die every day from overdose. The mayor and public health director took aim at the people who hand out drug use supplies in the name of harm reduction.
The days of handing out supplies without any connection to treatment or to case management, those days are over. We have to make a change, and this is the first step in that.
Distribution of foil, pipes, and straws for safer use supplies. We will no longer allow that in public spaces, meaning not on the street, not in parks, not on sidewalks.
Handing out clean pipes and other drug paraphernalia is meant to prevent accidental overdose or infection from the sharing of contaminated materials. But the mayor is telling the nonprofits who take city funding to stop. And he has an ally with experience in drug addiction, Supervisor Matt Dorsey.
Most of the people out there who are struggling with addictions don't want to be there. It's just a question of when is going to be the moment that they hit bottom and make the real difficult decision.
Dorsey is a recovering addict himself, and he believes that the harm reduction effort is being driven by activists with a political agenda.
What I have seen too often in recent years is people are giving drug paraphernalia and saying, good luck, go use your drugs more safely. And we don't want to say that you shouldn't even use drugs because some people view that as stigmatizing.
The new orders would require the distribution of any drug supplies to be in an indoor setting by a trained counselor who would then recommend and try to connect the user with a treatment program. But Laura Guzman with the National Harm Reduction Coalition says there isn't enough treatment available for people who may want it right now.
Is mandating or putting as a condition for people to receive life-saving supplies to actually have long conversations about treatment that may not be available. People who know in the field, researchers, doctors are saying this is not good policy. We're actually going against the grain because what we're trying to do is to, have the perception that there is no drug use on the streets. But it's not public health, it's not science-based, it's exactly the opposite of what we know works.
The city feels that the harm reduction effort is simply enabling people to continue their addiction. And Dorsey says he only got help after people cared enough to present him with some hard truths about himself.
Thank God that happened. If somebody had offered me a hotel room and a little money and go use your drugs, I might have taken that deal. And had I done that, I might not be alive today.
There is a clear shift in the city's feeling about drug use. Compassion without consequences hasn't worked so well, and they're willing to begin trying something different.
Well, that new policy goes into effect on April 30th and applies to all city-funded programs that deal with drug addiction. Well, some San Jose firefighters are seeing what is happening with cuts to public safety in other cities, so they're calling on the mayor to make sure he has his priorities right when it comes to the budget. Members of the Firefighters Union and other city workers, they gathered in front of the shuttered Fire Station 33 yesterday. That station closed in 2011 during a budget crisis. There are no current fire department cuts or station closures on the table, but the city has agreed to a hiring freeze and is exploring cuts to deal with a $32 million deficit. Fire Captain Jerry May says they want to make sure critical services are prioritized.
Your public safety is in jeopardy with closed fire stations. Your public safety is in jeopardy when you don't have enough firefighters.
Mayor Matt Mahan told us in a statement he will not support any cuts to the fire department's current service level, saying we can close our small remaining deficit by getting creative. Well, it's almost a cliche to say that so many major business deals are not closed in the boardroom, but instead on the golf course. But now some local tech entrepreneurs are making deals in unexpected places with a new approach that's shaking up the traditional pitch. Itai Hod serves up this story.
For the last few years, Luis Schilling and his team have poured their blood, sweat, and a whole lot of caffeine into building their company, Tropical IT, a startup that helps businesses manage their computer systems.
It has been a very fun ride, kicking off in my garage, and we're now 12 people supporting 9 countries.
Now he's looking for an investor who can turn his startup into a powerhouse.
For sure.
But today, instead of pitching in a stuffy boardroom, he's heading down a flight of stairs to the locker room. No slides, no spreadsheets.
I'm Ted.
This deal is being played out on a court.
You get to know them, and they're out of their comfort zone.
Welcome to Paddle, one of the world's fastest growing sports and Silicon Valley's newest networking hotspot. Ted Maidenberg is a venture capitalist, and the man Schilling is hoping will invest in his company. He says the sport isn't just fun, it hits all the right marks.
This sport takes a ton of concentration, so maybe asking a question to the entrepreneur between points, he or she's not going to have a chance to prepare an answer.
If tennis and squash had a business-savvy baby, it would be paddle. The sport, originating in Mexico in the 1960s, has already taken Europe by storm. Now it's making its way to America. With more than 70,000 courts expected to open worldwide by 2026, paddle is gaining serious momentum. Like pickleball, it's usually played in doubles, but that's pretty much where the similarities end.
The courts are bigger and they are surrounded by glass. So you can let the ball bounce off the glass and then hit it back to the other side of the court.
Pedro Zoraquin is a partner at Bay Paddle, a massive club on Treasure Island that includes a tricked-out co-working space above the courts where you can take calls, play a set, land a deal.
People work from home, right? So now the new concept is work from paddle.
For Schilling, the bet paid off. He scored a second meeting.
So I guess the big question is, do you let them win?
Of course not.
No?
No.
Because in Silicon Valley, it's not just about getting a bounce for your business. It's about how you play the game.
All right, next week. Well, Pedro tells us 50% of his clientele at Bay Paddle comes from the tech industry. Membership can cost anywhere from $70 to $250 per month. They also have a location in San Francisco's Dogpatch neighborhood. Still ahead, they're making a run at a new club that's doing anything but running, where hundreds of people plan to sit, all in the name of socializing.
I think this is time for us to take a sit, and I think we're reclaiming the city back from these runners.
Well, if you lived in the Bay Area long enough, chances are you've been invited to a meetup event that's fitness focused, like yoga in the park or run clubs. But a group in San Francisco techies is trying to buck the trend by starting their own meetup group focused entirely on sitting down. Our Sarah Donchi explains.
I'm a star?
A great idea has the power to bring people to their feet, unless that idea is about sitting down. So when the thought of a sit club dawned on Danielle Egan, naturally she was...
So we were kind of just like sitting around, like just joking about something.
We were sitting around.
Yeah, we were sitting around.
With run clubs sprinting onto the Bay Area social scene. This group of San Francisco tech workers thought they could do one better.
There is this sort of meme and joke about people going to run clubs just to meet people, right? And like they don't even like running. They're meeting other people who don't like running. So you're bonding over a shared interest neither of you have. So I think it's like funnier to be like, okay, you don't even like running. Let's cut out the worst part of run club, which is running, and just sit.
And so they are trying to wrangle hundreds of people to take a load off for their very first Sit Club event in Golden Gate Park on Saturday. It might be their first seated endeavor, but they have tried their hand at creative event planning before.
We invited everybody named Alex to the beach that day, and you could only come if you were named Alex or a +1 of somebody named Alex. Or like a derivative, like Alexandria, Alexis.
If you ask them the obvious question, why a sit club? These friends will tell you it was time to remove the runners from their seat of power.
Big Run, I think, has oppressed us for a very long time, and I think they've had their way with the city. And I think this is time for us to take a sit, and I think we're reclaiming the city back from these runners.
The activity sounded so appealing, this weary reporter decided to take the idea and run with it.
Yes, down with Big Run! Down with Big Run! Let's go!
How
does it feel? Yeah.
It feels good. The event is BYOC, bring your own chair, and creativity is encouraged.
You can put a couch on multiple Lime scooters and then drive that around. If you can do that, then you don't need to ever stand up, right? You can accomplish all of your day-to-day activities.
It should bring a lot of people together, a huge sit.
Oh, those evil runners. For details about where and when the group is meeting, we have a link to their invite on our website at kpix.com. You can RSVP for updates. We asked if they're planning any other kind of activities, and so far they said they were considering musical chairs. Well, coming up in our next half hour in CBS News Bay Area, the Trump administration defending its sweeping tariff strategy as the stock market slides. We hear from trade experts on how this could hit your wallets. Plus, how a budget battle in the East Bay is pitting two parks departments against each other. This is the minute. Wall Street is reeling as investors fear the fallout of President Trump's tariffs. The Dow dropped more than 1,500 points in early morning trading. Yesterday, President Trump announced a minimum tariff of 10% on imports and reciprocal tariffs on dozens of countries. VTA light rail service and bus service now fully restored. The Green Line was the last to get up and running this morning following inspections and repairs. This comes a week after a judge ended the workers' strike that lasted nearly 3 weeks. Oakland police say car thefts have dropped by 50% this year. According to OPD data, they have seen 1,560 vehicle thefts so far in 2025. That compares to more than 3,000 for the same period in both 2023 and 24. The Bay Area's only primetime newscast at 8 and 9 p.m. on the Pix Plus 44 Cable 12.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Another dry day for us here in the Bay Area with daytime highs slowly warming into the upper 60s as we head into this afternoon in areas like Santa Rosa, Antioch, all the way over into Fremont and down into the Santa Clara Valley too. It's a beautiful day to get out there and get some fresh air. Lighter winds for us too as we head into this afternoon. I was at the Golden Gate Park yesterday. You saw the sand just coming up from Ocean Beach over into the Dutch windmills. It was so breezy along our shoreline. We ended up getting 40-mile-per-hour wind gust in areas like Bodega Bay and SF. Now heading into this afternoon, it's significantly lighter. I mean, okay, yeah, about a 20-mile-per-hour wind gust into this afternoon, but that's at max. Another thing to mention too, those temperatures you just saw a second ago, they're going to be a little bit below average for us as we head into this afternoon. SF today topping off about 3 degrees below average, but that's been the case widespread throughout the West Coast. That'll change significantly as we head into the coming days. The next 6 to 10 days, our temperature outlook is showing above normal conditions. So what does that mean for us? Well, you head over into our inland areas. Let's start off with places like the East Bay and the Santa Clara Valley. Today we're in the 60s, tomorrow 70s. We're going to warm up into the 70s this weekend, get a quick cold front as we head into our Monday forecast, and look at Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. High pressure is going to build in fast. It's going to warm us up. It's going to dry us up. We're going to see sunny skies for Tuesday and Wednesday, 80s right around the corner for us, which is such a contrast compared to what we're dealing with today. More 60s in store for us today, of course, along the bay, too. We're going to hold on tight to that cooler weather pattern for one more day. We'll hit the 70s in areas like San Francisco and Oakland by Saturday, kind of teeter back and forth with upper 60s heading into early next week. We get that quick splash of scattered showers for Monday, and then we're all drying up together with mid-70s in areas like the Bay heading into next Wednesday.
Well, the markets and Americans are taking in President Trump's sweeping new tariff plan. The highest tariffs in nearly a century are set to take effect soon, starting with an across-the-board baseline tariff of 10%, then added reciprocal tariffs on nations that impose duties on U.S. goods. The White House says the move is designed to spur manufacturing right here in the United States. Natalie Brand is tracking the very latest from the White House.
Cabinet secretaries have been on TV this morning doubling down on the president's plan, but some are also signaling he could be open to negotiating before the tariffs take effect in coming days.
The Dow sank more than 1,000 points at Thursday's opening, digesting the Trump administration's sweeping tariff plan.
These changes in the stock market, while they're initial, long-term, you've got to assume, and medium-term, and employment-based, you're going to see America thrive.
President Trump is imposing a 10% baseline tariff on nearly all trading partners, then hitting dozens of countries with reciprocal tariffs. The White House says they're roughly half of what those countries are charging the U.S.
Reciprocal, that means they do it to us and we do it to them.
The Trump administration is defending its plan as a long-term strategy, saying it's a matter of national security.
The United States can no longer produce enough antibiotics to treat our sick. If anything ever happened from a war standpoint, we wouldn't be able to do it.
China faces a new 34% tariff on top of what's already been imposed. The EU faces a 20% reciprocal tariff.
What the United States is doing is pushing countries away from us.
Economists say Americans can expect higher prices for everything from electronics to clothing.
Allies have tried to talk him out of it, but he really doesn't seem to understand that tariffs are paid by Americans.
Exempt from the new tariffs, Canada and Mexico, which are already facing taxes on select goods that the president put in place earlier this year.
New tariffs on foreign vehicles and auto parts are also taking effect today. This morning, car maker Stellantis said it's temporarily pausing production at plants in Canada and Mexico, resulting in some temporary layoffs at plants in Michigan and Indiana.
Well, the new tariffs will have a big impact on the port of Oakland. It is the 9th largest container port in the U.S. The majority of goods are coming from Asia, everything from furniture, home appliances, electronics, clothing, and auto parts. And U.S. companies who export their products are expressing concern about those retaliatory tariffs. The port's maritime director says the uncertainty is already causing some trade disruptions. And we spoke with a finance expert at UC Berkeley about the expected impacts of President Trump's tariff war. She believes these import taxes will raise prices across the board.
Typically, what happened in this kind of scenario is that the producers are going to pass on the higher cost to their customers. Okay, and if the customers are the business customers, the price will rise, and they are going to pass on to the next customer, and ultimately it will impact the consumers.
Again, you can track the prices of goods impacted by tariffs on the CBS News website. You can see the potential changes for groceries, cars, and much more. Just head to cbsnews.com/tariffs. Real estate software company RealPage is taking legal action against the city of Berkeley. Last week, it became the latest city to block landlords from using AI algorithms to set rent prices. In a federal lawsuit, RealPage accuses the city's ordinance of violating the company's free speech rights, spreading misinformation and false claims. The company is demanding an injunction that would stop the ordinance from going into effect later this month. Other cities that have banned rent pricing algorithms include San Francisco, Philadelphia, and just last week, Minneapolis. RealPage released a statement saying they want California leaders to focus on the issue of a lack of housing, and they will take legal action to defend the role technology plays in supporting a healthier housing market. We reached out to the city of Berkeley for a response, but they did not comment on the lawsuit. RealPage was hit by an antitrust lawsuit by the Justice Department last August. It was filed under the Biden administration. There's no indication if the current administration's DOJ will move forward or drop the case. Well, the cost of living is one of the big reasons people have been leaving California, but a proposal is in the works that would make living here more affordable, at least for renters. Yesterday, San Jose Assemblymember Ash Kalra introduced a new bill. It would do three things: lower how much rent can go up every year from 10% to 5%, expand current tenant protections to include single-family home rentals, and make current tenant protections permanent. And a dispute between two parks districts in the East Bay is growing more contentious by the week. The Livermore Area Recreation and Parks Districts filed a claim against the much larger East Bay Regional Parks over a tax-sharing agreement signed more than 30 years ago. Since then, Livermore Parks has been sharing property tax revenue with East Bay Parks to develop new parks and trails around Livermore. But now, Livermore Parks says the East Bay District has not held up its end of the bargain. Our Katie Nielsen breaks it all down.
Livermore Parks currently has a budget of about $13 million a year, and that goes to maintain parks and open spaces, plus provide all their recreation programs. Now, they've been doing a tax share with East Bay Regional Parks for almost 30 years, and now they're questioning whether that's a good use of the money.
Good morning.
AJ Wright often coordinates group bike rides through Sycamore Grove Park in Livermore.
It's the wind, it's you, it's the sun, you hear, nature, and it's a complete escape from everything else around you.
He's taken his love of bicycles and turned it into a business as owner of AJ's Family Cyclery in Livermore. He says about 75% of his business comes from mountain bikers, mainly because of all the trails in the area.
Build it and they will come. Absolutely. I know I'll be there.
And that was the goal in 1992 when the Livermore Area Recreation and Park District decided to share about 35% of the collected tax revenue with the East Bay Regional Parks District. The goal was to have East Bay Parks develop new parks and trails in the Livermore area. But Livermore Parks claims only 20% of the more than $110 million it shared with East Bay Regional Parks was spent in the Livermore area. and the rest has funded other projects as far away as Contra Costa County.
We would never agree to sending taxpayer dollars outside of the area, much less to another county.
Matthew Fusey is the general manager of the Livermore Parks District and says this year their budget is $13 million and they're paying another $8 million to East Bay Parks. He says based on the way East Bay Parks is currently managing the money, they would rather end the agreement and use that $8 million on their own projects.
It was a good intended agreement that just didn't work out the way it was, and it really needs to go away.
The Livermore Parks District is funded by property taxes collected from Livermore residents and those who live east of the city all the way to the Alameda County line. And residents like AJ say that money should be used closer to home.
I want more people to use our trails, use our parks, and ride their bikes here and not have to leave town to do that.
East Bay Regional Parks has 45 days to respond to the claim from Livermore. We reached out to them for comment on this issue. They told us they need time to review the claim before commenting. Up next, it's almost time for the Final Four. While no local schools are in play, we're going to introduce you to one coach who has a strong following right here in the Bay.
Throughout the next couple days, we're continuing to warm up here in the Bay Area. We're in the mid-60s today in our inland spots, mid-70s by tomorrow for our Friday forecast with plenty of sunshine. And right around the corner, we'll hold on tight to those mid-70s heading into this weekend with a bit of a dip as we head into our Monday forecast as the cold front approaches. But look at next Wednesday. Right around the corner, we're hitting the 80s in our inland areas, and we're going to experience mid-70s for our friends just along the bay in areas like San Francisco all the way over into Oakland.
Well, the Battle of the Bay 2.0 is in the books. Fans traveling from Oakland arrived at Excite Ballpark yesterday before the San Jose Giants hosted the Oakland Ballers. Organizers on both sides say they felt a void was left when the A's left Oakland, which killed the original Battle of the Bay. Last night's game was the first matchup of its kind. The Pioneer League Ballers taking on the single A affiliate Giants.
The Giants don't really have to do this, in my opinion. It's something like, I feel like they're the ones really lending the olive branch to the Ballers, because the Ballers are a brand new thing. You know, they're in the Pioneer League.
But not everyone we spoke to felt that way, including Jorge, a member of the Oakland 68s fan group.
I think that's what it is. It's just a show of like, hey, look at us. We're trying to unite the baseball community in the East Bay by showing this little friendly thing that doesn't mean nothing, right? But it means something for us, for Oakland, and we want to show out.
The San Jose Giants took this one, beating the Ballers 5-2. March Madness now, and there may not be any Bay Area schools at this weekend's Final Four, but as Vern Glenn explains, one local coach will have a strong rooting interest on Saturday.
This is the Northern California Honda Dealers Madness Minute.
Stanford head coach Kyle Smith knows who he'll be rooting for in San Antonio. Florida head coach Todd Golden played for Smith at St. Mary's and then worked under him at Columbia and USF.
If you'll reveal it to me, who is your national championship pick?
Let me think hard on this one. No doubt. Let's
chomp.
Go, yeah, chomp it up. Let's go Gators.
Kyle Smith and Randy Bennett both got to celebrate with Golden last weekend at Chase Center after the Gators punched their ticket to the Final Four.
Todd Golden's like my little brother in some ways, a little 16-year-old gap, and just watching him from recruiting him, coaching him, and then just seeing him, it's a little obviously very surreal, but you got to understand when your protege goes past you. Kinda. But it was exciting too, and I was shamelessly plugging Stanford along the way as I was glomming onto them.
With the Madness Minute, I'm Vern Glenn.
Both Final Four games air on KPIX and stream on Paramount Plus. It all starts at 3 p.m. on Saturday. Then you can catch the championship game Monday at 5:50. Well, coming up, we'll introduce you to the couple in step with their culture, by shining a light on their heritage through dance.
I did fall in love with dance, because I find my identity.
Yeah, come on in. Yeah.
Well, a San Francisco husband and wife have been connecting people to cultural music dance traditions in the heart of the Mission District for the last 18 years. Sharon Chin introduces us to this week's CBS News Bay Area Icon Award winners.
For Jesus Cortez, dancing is a gift.
And we were so happy to found it and to bring it to the community.
Along with his wife, Ariane, Jesus runs the Cuicacali Dance Company, the program they've directed for 18 years. They find their rhythm as a team.
I'll come up with these musical ideas, and he'll have these steps to go with them. And that's something really golden and very hard to find.
The pair offers beginning to advanced dance lessons to students aged 5 to 22 at Brava Theater, plus instruction to 900 students at San Francisco Public Schools. Jesus admits this is not what he had planned growing up in Mexico.
I really was looking forward to play soccer, but my mom said that I need to learn a discipline.
So he took free lessons from his great-granduncle, a professional dancer.
I did fall in love with dance, because I find my identity.
And when Jesus came to the U.S. in 2007, he wanted to make that cultural heritage accessible to children in the Mission District. So Cuicacali Dance Company was born. He and Ariane, a music educator, teach about 80 students at Brava, most of them on scholarship funded by grants and donations.
The arts make our children thoughtful and have souls and be creative and work as a community.
Students step into Mexican folk dance, hip-hop, and even a fusion of classical and contemporary. Laura Padilla enrolls her 2 kids for the connection.
It's them embodying who they are through dance.
Years of dance lessons help American-born Tiffany Romero wrap her arms around her culture.
I don't think I'm very close to my heritage, but throughout my experience here at Cuicacali, I've been able to learn new dances from new places that I haven't visited.
And Leopoldo Peniagua says the Cortez family helps him keep a firm footing in life.
They've pushed me to do better, become a better person, stay out the streets, from doing bad things, and they have kept me on the right pathway.
Whether performing for an audience or practicing in the studio, Ariane and Jesus create a community to learn and grow.
I want them to not only become great artists, but better people.
You see them more than just a dancer. They're really just a part of your family, and you're going to be there for them through whatever they're going through.
So for enriching students' lives through Cuicacali dance lessons, this week's CBS News Bay Area Icon Award goes to Jesus and Ariane Cortez.
And the Cortezes say you'll see those students perform at San Francisco's Carnival this year. They'll be in the parade for the first time, and they're fundraising right now to build their float. They're also taking registration for their summer camp, which also includes jazz and Afro-Latino music. Well, you can nominate a community hero for a CBS News Bay Area Icon Award at kpix.com/icon. Well, thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Ryan Yamamoto. We'll be right back with your First Alert forecast and a look at your top stories.